Okay, so what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be dividing polynomials by a method called long division. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the x squared minus 16x plus 48, and we're going to put that underneath a division bar. And then we're going to take whatever we're dividing by, so the x minus 4, and we're going to place that outside our division bar. Okay, so one thing I want to point out, you just want to make sure that the exponents here go in descending order. So you have your x squared term first, then your x term, and then you have your constant right here at the end. Okay, so how you start this is you look at the first term on what's outside the division bar and the first term of what's underneath the division bar, and you want to say to yourself, well, what can I multiply this x by to get me to an x squared? Well, x times x gives me x squared, so I'm going to put that x right up here. And then all you're going to do is you're going to take this x and you're going to multiply it to the x minus 4. So x times x is x squared. We're going to put that right down here. And then x times negative 4 is negative 4x. So we're going to write that right here. Okay, now whenever you use long division, what you want to do is you want to subtract this term from what's above it. So in order to subtract this out, we're just going to change our signs. So this is going to become a negative, and this negative over here becomes a positive. So now when we combine our like terms, well, x squared minus x squared just cancels. And then negative 16x plus 4x is negative 12x. Okay, now what we want to do is, since there's two terms outside the division bar, we want to have two terms down here. So in order to do that, we're just going to take our positive 48 and bring it right down. Okay, so now we're going to repeat this process. We're going to say, what do I now need to multiply this x by to get me to a negative 12x? Well, since x times negative 12 is negative 12x, negative 12 is what I'm going to write up here. Okay, so then just repeat the process. You're going to take this negative 12 and distribute it to the x minus 4. So negative 12 times x is negative 12x, and then negative 12 times negative 4 is positive 48. Now again, since we're subtracting out these terms from these terms right here, we're going to have to change our signs, so this becomes a positive and this becomes a negative. And so now we have negative 12x and positive 12x cancel out. And then over here we have a positive 48 and a negative 48, which also cancels out. So this right here, x minus 12, is our answer. Now, if you think about it, if we were to have taken the x squared minus 16x plus 48 in the very beginning, and let's just say we factored this. So we're going to open up two sets of parentheses. We'll have an x and an x, and two numbers that multiply to 48 and add to negative 16 would be negative 4 and negative 12. What you'll notice is these factors we'll see right here and right here. And it makes sense because if x minus 4 times x minus 12 gives you this expression, if you took this expression and divided it by one of its factors, wouldn't it give you the other factor right there? Okay, so now I want you to jump ahead to number 3 in your notes. We're going to skip number 2. You guys will do that tomorrow in class. What we're doing is we're looking to take this numerator right here and divide it by this denominator. So the numerator is what's going to have to go underneath our division bar. Now, one thing I just want to point out is if you notice our exponents, we go from an x cubed down to an x squared, but then we don't have that x to the first power in here. We're missing our x term. So when you go to write it under the division bar, we're going to have 2x cubed minus 4x squared, and we have to take into account that x term. So you could write plus 0x, or if you really want, you could write minus 0x. It doesn't matter either way. And then we're going to take this plus 2 and bring it right down. Okay, so we'll have x cubed, x squared, x, and then our constant. And then whatever's in the denominator here, that's what's going to go on the outside of our division bar. Okay, so we're going to take a look at this, and we're going to take a look at the first term here and the first term here, and we'll say, well, what do I need to multiply 2x by to get me to 2x cubed? Well, x squared. So I'll put that right here. And then if I distribute x squared times 2x is 2x cubed. And then x squared times negative 2 is negative 2x squared. So because I'm subtracting, I'm going to have to change my sign. So this becomes a negative and this becomes a positive. And then combine my like terms. 2x cubed minus 2x cubed cancels. And the first term should always cancel. If they don't, it means you have to go back and find your mistake. And then negative 4x squared plus 2x squared is going to be negative 2x squared. Okay, now, since we have two terms out here and only one term here, we're going to have to bring down this plus 0x. That way, we have two terms. Okay, so now, again, look at the first term here. We have a 2x. And look at this first term here and say, well, what do I need to multiply 2x by to get me to a negative 2x squared? Well, a negative x. So I'm going to take that negative x and put it right here. So then negative x times 2x is going to be negative 2x squared. And then negative x times negative 2 is positive 2x. Now again, since we're subtracting, we're going to change our sign so this becomes a positive and this becomes a negative. I'm actually going to circle the negative because sometimes it's hard to see which sign I'm looking at. So here our first two terms cancel off. And when I combine these, 0x minus 2x is negative 2x. And again, I'm going to bring the next term down. That way I have two terms down here to match up with two terms out here. Okay, finally, I'm again going to look at this first term and say, what do I need to multiply that 2x by to get me to this first term? Well, really just a negative 1. Since 2x times negative 1 is negative 2x, I'm going to put a negative 1 here, and then I'm just going to distribute. Negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x, and then negative 1 times negative 2 is positive 2. And then when we subtract, we have to change our sign, so this becomes a positive, this becomes a negative, and combine your like terms. Negative 2x plus 2x cancels. And then even also here, positive 2 minus 2, that cancels as well. So we wind up with no remainder. So this is our answer.